Good day. I'm so glad you're here. I'm CandaceMae. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about leading virtual teams with connection. But before we start, I want to introduce you to my assistant, Jacqueline. She's here to help us monitor your questions. And Jacqueline, you want to say good morning?
Good morning. Hi,
Sure.
everyone.
So if you have questions throughout the presentation, please pop them in the connections, communications, comment section down below, and Jacqueline will be sure to see them and bring them to my attention. Let's get started. Good morning. So glad to see you, Mariz. Thank you for being here. Growth requires healthy confrontation. How do you feel about that? Healthy confrontation. Most of us don't like confrontation. We avoid it with the plague, right? But confrontation doesn't have to be uncomfortable. In fact, if we do it in a healthy way, confrontation brings growth and awareness. And I believe we need to develop leadership that cares. And that's through communication, attitude, relationships, emotional intelligence, and even sales enablement through relationships. So, as we lead virtual teams, we need to be aware that power comes through connection. I want to start first by giving you a little bit about me. I'm CandaceMae. I'm an author of the book, Heaven Within, Restoring Wholeness for Better Leadership. It's a great book. It's on Amazon. It has 2 downloadable workbooks for you to get additional growth out of the material. If you haven't picked up a copy, you might want to do so. It's a great deal. And then John Maxwell is my mentor, and he's an international best-selling author. He's been working in leadership for 40 years. His best-known book is 25 Years Anniversary, 21 Laws of Leadership. And this is a great book that I actually lead courses around. I'm licensed to use John's material. And so we'll be looking into more of that. So let's get started with leading virtual teams with connection. There's leadership and there's management. Most people think they're one and the same, but I want to tell you that they're different. And when we're working with virtual teams or in-office teams, leadership is very much required as well as management. So let's talk about leadership. Leadership is about inspiring others, sharing the vision, sharing the purpose, breaking out the objectives that we want to achieve, and valuing each individual person, knowing them, understanding their strengths, and really unconditionally loving them. I believe if you're in a leadership role and you don't like the people that you lead, you're in the wrong role. Because we need to really appreciate and value the people that we lead. We need to be able to empower them to work in their skill sets and to do the best work that they can. That not only increases the company and the productivity, but it increases the self-confidence of the people that work with you and the power that they bring to their job. When people are happy and enjoy coming to work, they perform better. Management, on the other hand, is more about managing processes and procedures, re-engineering workflows, compensation, hiring and firing decisions. All of those things are about management. Oftentimes, people get promoted into a management role because they've been really good in a technical role. And in that technical role, they stand out. And that's important. That's good. We want managers who have a success record. But we need to remember that when we move people into a role where they oversee other people and they are to manage the workflow and productivity, we need to train those people on leadership, of how to connect with other people, how to communicate, what the different styles of communication is, how to keep the work moving and not hit personality conflicts and roadblocks. It's all about building effective relationships. Every aspect of your business is built on relationships, whether it's the front desk answering the phones, it's the janitor, whether it's management, it's the leadership, it's the inventory control, the accounting. Every department is built on people. So being able to build relationships that are meaningful is critical. And when we have people who are virtually in hybrid satellite offices, we need to be able to connect with them just like we connect with the people in the office. So connecting is more than a skill. It's more than a natural talent. It is a skill, and it can be learned. That's the good news. Many of you might say, I'm shy. I don't really talk well with other people. I don't know what to talk about. But you can become a better connector. You can learn how to relate to other people, bring that in. So now I want to talk about 5 factors of connecting. There are ways that we can value people, we can believe in them, and we can unconditionally love them and show it, because it's important that we're showing this to other people. You can care about people all day long, but if they don't feel that you care about them, that's not a connection. The connection is when we come together and both understand that there's value there. So through relationships, a quick way to gain credibility when you're going into a group to speak, perhaps, is to borrow that credibility from someone else who knows the people in the group. You walk into a group, you don't know them. I say, this is Cheryl, this is my friend, and she's here today to talk about such and such. Now, you know me and you like me. And now that I've introduced you to Cheryl and said she's going to be a great speaker and share this information, you now have a sense of connection with her to start with, right? You are trusting my relationship with her, and that lends her credibility. Because who you know can open the doors for you. It's important that we recognize that. Sometimes we used to say, in college in my early 20s, people would say, oh, at work, everybody gets hired and promoted because of who they know. That's so unfair. And my professors would say, that's okay. That you call it brown nosing, but that's the way of business. That's the way of life. It's all about proximity and about who you know. So embrace that. Build relationships and connections with other people and use that to open doors for you. Another factor for connecting is insight. If you have subject matter expertise in a certain area, that is an area that you could generously share with others. And people will respect you because of your expertise in this area. And they'll develop a sense of connection with you because people seek out what others know. When they know something that I need to know, I'm going to go seek those people out. And that's a sense of connection there. A third factor in connecting is success. People want to be successful and they want to be around other people who are successful. So we will seek out other people who've accomplished something that we want to get their advice from, because they've been there, they've taken the road, they know the shortcuts. So we seek that out. And there will be people who will want to listen to you and connect with you because of your success. And then there's that factor of ability. If you have a high level of ability in a certain area, others may want to connect with you because of that ability. You can accomplish things and have connections and resources that they need. Excellence draws excellence together. People will admire you. They'll want to be like you. They'll feel connected with you. And when you speak, others are naturally going to listen because they want to glean that information from you. And the fifth factor might be the hardest one of all, and that's being vulnerable to share the sacrifices that you've made or the struggles that you've encountered, the painful events you've overcome in your life or in your career, because this makes people relatable to you. Oftentimes, when people hit a point of success, all we see is how good they are, all that they've achieved, and we sense that they're different than us. We're not there yet. We don't have anything in common. Everything's easy for them, but that's not usually the case. Most people who you see in a leadership role in some kind of success have had struggles along the way. And if they can share the fact that they've had those struggles and how they overcame them, people will connect with them. People will love them because they'll say, oh, they get me. They understand what I'm going through because they've been there. And now I can really admire them and connect with them because I know if they made it, I can make it. So, factors of connecting: relationships, insight, success, ability, and sacrifice. Connect with other people, be vulnerable. That means your team. So, tips for connecting with your team, your virtual team, or those people in the office, or just public in general. Find common ground. Whether you're speaking to a group or you're one on one connecting with them, don't look at the opposites of things that you have in conflict. Look for things that you have in common. That draws people together. Keep communication simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Keep it as simple as possible. And capture the intent of people's hearts. Sometimes people say something and there's a tone or an expression, and we tend to think the worst, right? Well, they're being harsh, or they meant that in a negative way. But let's capture the intent of that person. We don't know, especially when they're working in a virtual environment. We're not in their physical space. So we don't know what's happening around them. We don't know if they just had an argument with a spouse or a child, if there was a fire in the kitchen, or anything else that might be going on. So let's capture the intent of their message and maybe kindly bring it to their attention if it needs to be brought to their attention, but seeking that positive side of it, right? Checking in with them. How's your day going? Maybe you feel a little bit tense. Inspire others. Inspire others because you care, right? That you are lifting them up. This goes straight into stay authentic in all your relationships. Be yourself. Be true to who you are. Don't think so highly of yourself that you can't come down to other people and connect with them and share that you've had struggles, that you care about them. Be authentic. Inspire other people. Capture the intent of their heart. Keep your communications simple and straightforward, and find common ground with them. Those are the 5 principles of connecting. And this is shared from Dr. John C. Maxwell himself. And the 5 practices that he suggests for connecting is that you apply these principles in every situation, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your friends or with your colleagues or your customers or vendors. Always focus on other people. Too many times we're inward focused, always worried about ourselves. What am I going to get out of this? How am I feeling? Oh, I'm really nervous. What are they going to think about me? That's inward focused. And that causes us to be all shaky and nervous, especially if we're going to speak in front of a crowd. But if we can be outward focused, all about other people, we're going to say, what can people get out of this? What can I bring them? What value do I have to share with them? And go beyond words. It's not just about talking. It's about taking action that demonstrates your care and your concern. And this requires energy, always requires energy. You have to write notes. You have to drop mail in the post office to send people, to surprise them with a birthday card when they're virtual. It's better than an email. Like, make it connect with them, right? A party online in the office, it requires energy. Having that crucial conversation with someone that's having a difficulty, you don't want to have it, they don't want to have it, but it's so needed, that healthy confrontation. It requires energy and kindness. And it really is more of a skill that you can nurture and develop in yourself and in those around you. Some people think, oh, they're just a natural person, natural talent, but it's something that can be nurtured. And that's what we're doing here today, figuring out how to nurture those, bring awareness, and develop those skills. So in your virtual teams, you probably are used to seeing your team like this. Boxes in Zoom, right? Checking in with them. How do you connect with your virtual team? I want to point this out. Some tips for you to take away. At the start of each shift, isn't it nice to check in with someone? I know Jacqueline, you met my assistant. When she starts her day, she always checks in with me and says, "Good morning, Miss Candace." And I love that. And I love it. I look forward to it. I know she's there. I know she's working. It brightens my day just to know somebody's there besides just me. And I always try to respond back to her as quickly as I can. But it makes a difference. So start some touch points with your staff, just a little chat message or something. You can have team meetings, and when you do, make sure everyone turns their camera on. There's nothing worse than having a team meeting and nobody's there. There's a picture or a name across the box, and that's it. You want to see eyes. You want to see smiles. You want to hear what's going on. You have to have them. Everybody needs to show up. It's good to have a 1-minute check-in with everyone on the team also. What if you started your team meeting with a positive pop? Everybody has 1 minute to share something positive. Yay! Yay! This is what happened this week. This is a good thing. It doesn't have to be work related. It could be something personal in their life or in their family. It could be work related. The joy of sharing even personal things is you get to know each other better. You get to connect and see into their world, see what motivates them, and maybe what they're struggling with, right? And then there's this concept of synergy work sessions. I absolutely love this. Having your team come together for maybe 2 hours at any given time, and they're still going to be working on their own work, whatever that might be. But we come together for 2, 4 hours, whatever, and as someone is monitoring the clock. They set the timer for 55 minutes, and in 55 minutes, they'll pop on and say, "Hey guys, it's time to take a break." Everybody stands up and stretches, maybe leaves, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, take a walk, and then we come back and we start another hour. That is powerful. It may sound silly, but it's not. It's very powerful because when you're working virtually in a strategic satellite office, oftentimes you feel alone. But when you're online with other people, even though you're muted and you're working, you can glance up and see that there's other people there. Even you could turn your camera on, but it's even powerful with leaving your cameras on rather than off. But you're working, you're doing your own thing, and everybody's there. You're accountable. You're working and they're showing up. And in these synergy work sessions, I always get the message, "Wow, that was so good. I got so much done, much more than I normally do." And I really believe it's the energy that each person draws and brings gets connected. Even though it's virtual, we have spiritual energy, and I believe that all comes together. And then, of course, you probably all do this when you have virtual teams, and that's using collaborative tools that are designed specifically for virtual or hybrid teams. And there's lots of them. There's Zoom, there's Basecamp, there's other project management tools. Many of you use Slack or SharePoint, Microsoft Office 365, and OneDrive for storage. Anyone around the world can access these tools. We've got the G Suite and the Google Docs. Those are just a few. There's so many more. So you can always connect with me if you want to brainstorm, or you can Google collaborative tools for virtual teams. And then the last thing I wanted to point out is that you can have immersive activities and celebrations with your virtual team. That enables bonding. It's really powerful. Have birthday parties, have meeting celebrations, to team development. I offer team development, and I do it virtually as well as in person. And that includes team development. In fact, one of the tools I use is the leadership game. It is a real strategic discussion done in a very fun way. It's a great way to celebrate your team. It's a great way to do an assessment on your team. I would do the assessment, kind of seeing how you're interacting, what levels of skills each person might have or bring to the team. It's pretty powerful. We have a timer, so when there's questions that we can flip over and time, there's a die that is color coded: pink, green, blue, yellow, and they match up with the cards. See, we have green cards for personal leadership and a pink card for a follower. Then we have a yellow card for organizational questions and a red card for leaders. So these all have different events. So this leader card says, use a sticky notepad to record your answer to the following question or statement. Add value to others from your sweet spot. Walk around the room and write down the leadership strengths for each participant on a sticky note and give it to them. Then have each participant share the one that stood out the most to them. How often do you hear positive traits about yourself from your teammates? Not very often, but it's so powerful. Now, this game can be played in person or virtually. This is another example. This one is an organizational card, and it says, players pair up to discuss the following question or statement. Write your response. Then one player from each pair reports to the rest of the team. The law of victory. Leaders find a way for the team to win. If your organization were a superhero, who would it be and why? So now we'll all go off into breakout rooms. So you're in pairs of two, and you get to answer that question and then come back and report to the team. That is fun. You'll be amazed at the kind of traits that your team starts to think about themselves in a way that they never did before. This is a personal leadership. Use your sticky notepad to record your answer to the following question. Get in the zone and stay there. List 5 things you do well. How often do you stop and think about what you do well? And how often do you get to tell your teammates what you do well, what you think you do well? That can be really insightful and powerful for your team members to get to know you better and to know how they can use what you do well to enhance the team. And another example is a follower's card. Players pair up to discuss the following question or statement. Write your response. Then one player from each pair reports to the rest of the team. Best leaders are listeners. Which group of people feel like they're not being listened to and deserve more attention? Employees, clients, customers, shareholders, ambassadors, etc. Wow. How many times do we really sit and talk about that and how we can increase our customer service? Great tools. When we get into the debate, you might have a card that says, select another team member on the team to oppose your view of the following question or statement. Other players respond using their debate response cards at the end of the debate. So we'll say, I agree or I disagree, and it's based on how good the person argued for their point. In this example, the secret to a good meeting is the meeting before the meeting. In our organization, we rely on relationships with others rather than organizational systems and procedures to get things done. So now you're going to argue either that it's important to have a meeting before the meeting or it's not important to have a meeting. You just show up at the meeting. Maybe you have agenda, maybe you don't, and you move forward. So this is a fun process to bring awareness. Maybe people hadn't thought about having a meeting before the meeting. And then one more wonderful thing about this game is there's gold cards. Just like in other games, you pick a gold card or something. If you're given a gold card to pick, it might ask you to do something. In this situation, it's telling you to edify a team member. You need to explain why you chose the recipient of this card, because you're going to give this card to one of your team members. And it says, the law of pain, good management of bad experience leads to great growth. Give this gold card to the person who learns most from their mistakes. So you have to give it to them and then, say who got it and why. It's powerful. And people start to see what other people on the team see in them, right? And in each other. It's so positive, so great. In fact, we're going to have a public opportunity for you to join an experience leadership game. I believe that's on December 28th or 29th. We can certainly watch your email and social media for the date. We're going to have holidays with CandaceMae. So right now, let's hear about Steve and what his experience was with the leadership game in his team.
What I really liked about the leadership game was the questions that CandaceMae had for us. They were great questions that really brought about conversations, really, and forced discussion within all of our team. And they're great questions around topics that we don't necessarily really, talk about at work. So I really, really liked it from that standpoint. And the game element was wonderful as well, because it allowed us to have a lot of fun while also having good, deep, meaningful conversations.
Over the years, the methods of communication may change. We've moved from pagers to landlines to cell phones, many, many different communication methods, Slack information. But the principles of communication never change. They stay true to the test of time. Teamwork requires influence. Influence is not about micromanaging people. It's not about forcing them to do things. It's about connecting with them, showing that you care. It is holding them accountable. I'm not talking about all feel good. There is, like I said, confrontation, and that can be healthy confrontation. But teamwork requires connection. Teamwork requires communication. Teamwork requires influence. So now I want to talk to you about leadership truths that are true in a standard office or with virtual teams. And I'm bringing it today because many times we miss this with virtual teams, and we need to develop the leaders around us. And that includes those leaders who are working remotely. And here's why. Those closest to the leader will determine the success of that leader. They'll either hold you back or they'll help you grow and expand. An organization's growth potential is directly related to its personnel's potential. Remember what I said? Every layer of your business is focused on people. And your people are either going to succeed and do well in their roles and lift the company, or they're going to be weaker and they're not going to do so well. So how well you have people trained in your business is going to increase your business. It also increases the value of that individual. And when you have leaders around you, they can help lead and help other people. So it multiplies your influence. Leaders attract potential leaders. Leaders are attracted. Remember the rules we said about connecting? Leaders want to be around other successful people. People are drawn to success. So leaders attract other potential leaders. When we see people who are strong in leadership, that's a good thing. And potential leaders help carry the load for you. There's only so much you can do yourself, and you need other people who can ripple out beyond you to do that same work. And then the fifth truth about leadership and developing the leaders around you is leaders who mentor potential leaders multiply their effectiveness. You become more powerful. We leverage what we do when we have other strong leaders around us. Many times our leaders don't have confidence in their own leadership skills and in their own ability to communicate and lead others because they weren't properly trained. And then the people around them, they hold back because they're intimidated and so forth. So having those leaders really grow in their leadership skills is essential. The sixth one is developing leaders enhance the future of the organization. What happens when your business is doing really well and you're ready to expand? You want to open a new location, expand your market share. You're suddenly stuck because you don't have a leader who can step into that role. So when you have a process in place to develop potential leaders in your business, so when the opportunity arises, they can step into that leadership role, you're going to be better off. You can maybe grow exponentially faster. And the more people you lead, the more leaders you need. And that's self-evident in that if you've got more than 5 or 6 people reporting to you, it's going to be really hard for you to connect and to do those performance reviews and really manage them day to day, and how removing roadblocks from each of them and giving them the empowerment that they need. So the more people you have, the more leaders you need. Which takes us to this next question, especially for virtual leaders to ask that key question. Am I raising potential leaders on my virtual team? Oftentimes, out of sight, out of mind, and people get promoted from within the company, especially those who are in the physical location. I want to expand to you the thought to remember about your virtual team members. There may be awesome people who have great leadership skills and abilities and would love the opportunity to step up. Remember your virtual team. Ask yourself that question. The next question virtual leaders might have as the toughest challenge is creating an inclusive growth climate for virtual and hybrid teams, right? Uh, Again, we're used to doing things in physical proximity in the office. But since the pandemic, we've really been able to branch out and see the value of allowing people to work virtually because we save so much in costs, because there's less commute time. People are able to do more. They like the flexibility. So how do you create that growth climate? Well, as I said, the leadership gain is one of those ways, right? Developing team members, all of those tips I gave you on how to have powerful, impactful moments with your virtual team. Those are tips to grow your virtual growth environment. A leader's primary responsibility is identifying potential leaders for company expansion and growth opportunities. And again, remember those virtual team members. Virtual leaders' crucial task is nurturing the staff in the virtual and hybrid environment, right? That's what we need to do. And we had great tips today on how to do that. Virtual leaders' daily requirement. Every day, we need to equip them with the tools they need, whether they're in the office or whether they're virtual. I have a meeting question that I like to suggest. There's 3 questions to ask. What have you done well? What challenges are you having? What roadblocks have you had? And what do you need from me? Those 3 questions are perfect for one-on-one meetings or group meetings, stand-up meetings, checking in, right? To equip them with what they need to get the job done. The leader's lifelong commitment, developing potential leaders in a changing work environment. As I said, connecting and communication principles don't change. They stretch the span of time. But our work environments, the tools that we use, how we communicate, how we connect, they do change. And it's about learning how to adapt in those changing environments to become your best self and your team's best self. And when we communicate, we have to remember that everyone has their own perspective, right? Thinking about challenges and headbutting or differences of opinion, they're all because everyone has their own opinion. And I want to share this little exercise with you. If I were to share this beach ball and ask you, what colors do you see? You might say you see orange and yellow, right? But I might tell you, I don't see orange and yellow at all. Does that mean I'm wrong and you're right? What if I told you I see blue and white? Maybe I even see green, but I don't see any yellow or orange. Would you argue with me? Because if we turn this ball sideways, we can see all of the colors. So were you wrong? No, you were right. There's green and yellow. Am I wrong? No, there's blue and white, right? So we were all correct, but we are all seeing it from a different angle. And this is the great aspect we want to remember when we're communicating with other people, that their experiences are true and unique for them. And we need to validate those experiences, but yet at the same time, help them to see that there's a bigger picture than just the slice that they're seeing, right? So we can expand our knowledge, expand our experience, expand our perceptions. And this brings me to the point that one of the services I offer is developing your competence, connection, and communication through using private or group coaching services. It's a great opportunity, especially you have challenges with employees, they're struggling, they need some help. You can bring me in as a coach to work with them one-on-one. It's a safe space. I can be a sounding board for them. We can work on their communication styles, what their strengths are, what their self-awareness is. And when we talk about self-awareness, that's so they know what's going on with them. They can understand maybe why they're getting upset when somebody says something to them. Maybe someone says something with pure positive intent and they're reacting in a negative way because of something that's happened to them in the past. So we can explore these things in a private environment. We can set SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely to help them achieve. If you have an employee who's having struggles and you don't know how to teach them or help them grow past it, this is a time where you can bring me in as a coach to work with you or work with them to learn how to develop the leader within themselves, within you, within your leaders around you, and just really expand the company growth. Let's listen in to Josh as he's done some coaching with me and some team development as well.
So when CandaceMae and I initially started talking about what she could provide for our team, she really broke it down into what I needed as a leader in terms of executive training and coaching, and then what we could roll out for the team. So the first part we started with was a 360-degree assessment of me as a leader, and that went out to a bunch of our team members, work colleagues, suppliers and vendors, personal connections that I had, for them to give feedback. And we took that and kind of combined it into analysis to kind of rank certain factors in my leadership and areas that I was strong in, but also areas that I was weak in. And that would kind of coupled with a DISC profile to kind of understand, like, well, why is it that certain behaviors are I'm prone to certain behaviors or not? And that really came out with understanding the DISC profile. And then in terms of the training side of things, she recommended that I really work on developing the leader within me, which is one of the courses or training materials that we went through. But then after that, how do we develop the leaders around us? And so that whole kind of perspective was kind of the executive leadership training and coaching that I received, along with meeting with her one-to-one on a regular basis. Really helped kind of solidify the things that I was learning and then apply it to our company and our organization.
Yes, there's power in developing yourself. If you're a leader, the true measure of your success is not getting people to work. It's not getting people to work hard. It's getting people to work hard together. That takes commitment. That takes collaboration, and collaboration requires an understanding using the right communication approach for each individual, because there's many different personality styles and there's many different ways people get motivated. I am a certified DISC consultant. So that is a communication behavior consultant. I help you identify your communication style and your behaviors. I help you to understand the communication styles of other people and how to collaborate and motivate your team members using this knowledge. So what you see here on the screen is the Maxwell method of DISC is John Maxwell has the leadership principles, and we pull this into the DISC profile for a unique combination of your strengths measured in skills, which we'll talk about a little later, and then those 4 main personality styles. And that's D, which is dominant, the I, which is influencing, the S, which is steady, and the C, which is compliant. And those are just names we give to the 4 main characters. Everyone has all 4 of these personality traits and the communication styles within you. But some of these are stronger than others within you. And this is where it's powerful to understand where you are. There's 4 things that we measure here. There's the outgoing. How outgoing is your personality, or how reserved is your personality? Are you inward focused, or are you very outward? And then, are you task oriented? You make a list, you're driven to get that done, check off the list. Yay, I got it done. Or are you more people oriented, which focuses more on the heart? So you can have, as I said, you have all 4 of these traits within you, but they're on a spectrum or a scale. So for the D, we're measuring your drive. We're measuring whether you're a pushover, you're not, you don't really stand up for yourself. If you're assertive, which is the middle of the spectrum here, or if you're very angry, very driven, you want your way, you want it only your way, and very control centered. So there's a whole spectrum here of the D, and this is what we measure. And in the I, we're measuring your influencing. Are you a loner? You like to be all by yourself? Are you a dreamer? You're up in, la la land, or are you in the middle, really outgoing and influencing other people? The steadiness is the S. Are you scattered and all over the place, or are you very controlling and managed, or are you supportive? The S, somebody who's a strong S, we usually say likes the status quo, is very much supportive. And then there's C, the compliant, and this is that person who really loves to analyze things. They can either become so perfectionistic, or they can become less. They're very impulsive. So it's one extreme to the other. These are the characteristics that we measure in your personality. And when something comes above the mid-level, it becomes a strength of yours, and that becomes how you react and define. So let's look at the D. The D personality is considered dominant, and it's only 3% of the personality, at least in the USA. So the D seeks control. They want things done their way, right? They're very decisive. They want the bottom line. They're very direct. Just give them bullet points. And they're results driven. They're task oriented. They seek results. They can multitask well. They're driven by authority. They'll easily take control. And if you've ever been out with somebody and they always have to drive, they're probably a D. They want to take control. They'll embrace any change that will help them get results. And if they don't mind direct confrontation. They're very comfortable responding. But they treasure loyalty. They want people who are loyal to them. Now realize this D might be a trigger point for many people. Notice there's only 3% of the population, which is good. But their greatest fear is being taken advantage of. So if you've ever seen somebody who is a D personality and you really push their button and make them feel they're taking advantage of, they're going to become more controlling, more belligerent. So you want to be aware of that and manage how you communicate with them. The I is an influencer, and this is 11% of the personality of the population. These are people who are persuasive, they're spontaneous, they're friendly, they're people oriented, and they like to be center of attention or spotlight. Their greatest fear is loss of approval or rejection, because they're always seeking that friendly environment and they're always active. They're relationship oriented, they're people oriented, they work from the heart. They're great storytellers, and they will encourage you, they'll be upbeat. They treasure great experiences with other people. And that's important to know, right? They're on the people side. D was on the task side. Now we get to the S. The S is someone who's considered steady. This is 69% of the population. Aren't we glad? These are team-oriented people who are really loyal, and they're accepting, and they're good at follow through. They like to keep the status quo. Isn't it good that 69% of the population is an S as a high level? They seek a team environment. They're very loyal. They're easygoing and agreeable. They're even-paced. They're great listeners. They're compassionate, and they treasure peaceful relationships. Now, for them, their greatest fear is loss of security or confrontation. So if you know somebody like this, and you know you've got to embrace something that's uncomfortable conversation, do it in a gentle way. Make sure that you're lifting them up, right? You manage your conversation based on the personalities you have. Somebody who's a D, you can be much more direct with them with a confrontation. Somebody who's an S, you're going to have to package it a little bit different. And that I person, you might need to package it carefully as well, because they fear loss of approval. And then the C is the person who's compliant. This is 17% of the population. And these are the people who are analytical, they're planners, they're focused on accuracy. I think about researchers and accountants and things, engineers. They seek an environment that honors logic and facts, right? They're compliant, they're rule keepers. They got a book of rules. Everybody needs to follow these rules. They're very conscientious and accurate. They're detail oriented, and they treasure perfection. But remember, perfectionism can become a way of paralyzing you. You get paralysis of analysis with the C's. So remember, done is better than perfect. The greatest fear for someone who's a C is going to be criticism. And realize they've poured themselves into their work. They're very proud of their work and want it to be accurate. They want you to appreciate all that they've done. But their greatest fear is criticism. So if you have questions and start asking them and tearing apart their work, they may have a tendency to take it personal. So with them, I would recommend that you package your questioning in such a way that you acknowledge, you've done a lot of work here. This is great. You've pulled so many things together. I really appreciate your accuracy and the details that you've put into this and the time. But I have a couple of questions. Would you mind if we ask them? By prefacing it that way, you'll get these people to embrace your questions rather than resenting you or feeling that you're criticizing them. Let's listen to Kayla as she talks about her experience taking the DISC assessment and as a project manager, how it impacted her understanding of her team.
The personality and DISC assessment for me was an eye-opener. It enabled me to have a better understanding of what my communication skills are and how I can apply them. This has allowed me to communicate better with my members of my team by recognizing their personality types as well. It was definitely a much needed first step that helped guide me through the remaining modules of the course.
It's a powerful process when you begin to understand yourself and you have a self-awareness of your communication style and your strengths. In this communication and behavior assessment that we do, which is the DISC, we also assess seven points of skills that will enhance your job. So you want to make sure that you're working in your strength zones. And that's influencing, directing, creating, persisting, detailing, relating, and processing. All of those are put on a graph, and you can see where you fall, which one is your highest. So it's great to take this power disc and see the job that you're working in. Are you using your skills that are your strengths, or are you working in an area that's not your strength? Because if you're not working in an area of your strength, you're probably not happy. You'll probably dread your days. They're long and tiring. And there's so much more enthusiasm and energy increases across the team when everyone's working in their strength zone. I'd love to hear what your strengths are. Let's listen to Eve about his experience.
First component of CandaceMae's team training was the personality assessment. It helped me to better understand my personality type and my team's personalities. I found that it was a great foundation for the rest of the course because I learned to better empathize with my team and how to effectively communicate with each of them. I also realized the fact that we're all so different is what actually makes our team stronger.
So Gerald R. Ford, one of our previous presidents, said, talent is not enough. Experience isn't enough. To lead others, you must be able to communicate, and connecting is key. And that's what today's message has been all about. Learning to connect with your employees, even those who are virtual. There's powerful ways to connect, to be authentic, to increase productivity, to become aware of leadership compared to management. And as a leadership development coach and trainer and public speaker, I want to tell you a little bit more about what I can offer you. I use the CARES framework, which is communication, attitude, relationships, and retention of your employees. Emotional intelligence, which is your self-awareness, what's going on with you, being able to self-regulate yourself, in being aware of the people around you, and identifying ways to manage your relationships. That's what emotional intelligence is. And then, of course, sales enablement. I do have a speaker presentation course. It's an online portal. You can actually develop your skills on communicating. It's a 6-month program, 26 lessons. And there is weekly lab time with me. So you get one-on-one time. And then you get a discount on coaching one-to-one for speaking if that's something you want to take advantage of. You have a big presentation you're doing. Very powerful. I do the leadership skills development, teams and individually. I do the coaching, the one-on-one and the group. And as we're working together in coaching, we may come up that there's things in your workplace and processes and that need to be re-engineered. And I have over 22 years in IT and work cross-functional teams and system implementations. So those things are available to you for taking advantage of my skill sets during coaching and consulting services that you might need. We do sales training, which is the SPIN approach. And then obviously we do group trainings and the assessments such as the DISC, communication behavior, or the 360 you heard Josh talk about. So really it's all about you. It's all about your team. It's all about raising your productivity, lowering your costs, lowering absenteeism, increasing collaboration and communication, customer service, teaching how to lead and influence. So if there's any questions that I can answer for any of you, feel free to scan this QR code if you like. It'll take you to a landing page all about the team collaboration and different aspects of the DISC assessment and how you can get involved with me there. You've got my phone number here and my website. Jacqueline, do you see any questions that maybe we'd like to bring? Joel, growth requires healthy confrontation. Great point. Love that idea. Thank you, Joel. I'm glad you're here. John Erickson Ferroni. Wow, love this topic. Oh, great. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here, John. Awesome. Well, Mariz, having a healthy relationship within your workplace is the best feeling. Absolutely. I agree. Nobody wants to go to work where they're not wanted. We all want to be valued and appreciated. Good. Well, thank you all for joining me today. I look forward to connecting with you. Please feel free to watch the other videos we have on our YouTube channel, CandaceMae, or connect with me for a one-on-one consultation. You'll find a way to set an appointment at the bottom of the screen, CandaceMae-training.as.me/strategy session/-30. You'll find that link on my website, CandaceMae.com, and you'll find at the top menu a ways to meet, and you can schedule a free consultation with me. I'd love to connect. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.